The Joe Rogan Experience.
So can I just, your concerns with the protein, and just make sure I'm understanding your argument. Protein quantity and protein quality. And within protein quality, it would be the amino acid profile and the digestibility. Is that fair? Those are your issues with
those are the considerations of protein that I think are important.
We're on the same page for what we're discussing, right? So I just don't know where
And again, not saying that it's not possible to get enough protein quantity and quality and mix of amino acids in if you're really on it.
Right, but it's well planned, just like if any other diet was well planned.
I think it's less likely that you'll get protein right on a completely vegan diet without.
I agree.
Than it is on a diet that contains animal protein.
It's more complicated.
It's not more complicated. What it is if you just you don't know. Yeah, if you don't know what you're doing and you've been eating a certain way for 30 years and you suddenly take meat off the plate and you only eat what was left on the plate, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, it's more complicated.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly.
So that's why we put resources on our website.
The level of knowledge and understanding about that is pretty low in my experience.
Right. No, I agree. And that's why I agree. Yeah. I agree. I think people need more resources to make better informed decisions about their health, about their exercise, and so on. I agree.
What's your position on what he said about protein?
Okay, so I'm just quoting you from last time. Man, you really put me through a lot of hours of extra work. Now it's gone from like 3,000 to like 3,100, Anyway, so there was just so much wrong with what you said that I just had to go into every single topic. But anyway, so 3 ounces of 90% lean ground beef. Do you think that animal fat is not good for you? Because all of a sudden now, Chris is
well, that's not what he's saying. He's talking about protein content.
Yeah, but what was the statement in the film?
Lean ground beef, meaning that for protein content.
Yeah, no. The statement in the film was
the most common. If
no,
you
it's
go
not
to
actually.
The store
it's not actually not.
It's 80 anywhere from and grass-fed beef, which is what I advocate.
Okay,
that's
great.
Generally leaner.
Okay, great.
But he was specifically talking about protein content.
No, I know. That's what we're going to go into.
Right. Okay.
So listen to
lean ground beef.
Okay. So, but basically, what I had said, and I can't remember the exact words that I said, but no, I pretty much do because I recorded it a number of times. So, 1 cup of cooked lentils or a peanut butter sandwich has about as much protein as 3 ounces of beef or 3 large eggs. That was what I said.
Okay.
I might be off on a word, but that was what I said.
Okay.
I said about as much protein. Okay. So you go on to say 3 ounces of 90% lean ground beef. Well, already what you did is you picked leaner beef. But, even though you don't advocate for that, you don't think the animal fat is bad. So what you did is you picked the leanest beef. Anyway, you say has 24 grams of protein. I'm not sure what your source is.
But he does advocate for grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is leaner. Okay. So if he's talking about what he does advocate for, that does make sense. It's 3 ounces of ground lean meat.
Okay, but the thing is, the point in the film was that most people
weren't saying that.
Most people, yeah, exactly.
So you were saying
I'm defending what we said in the film.
Right. So you were saying regular, standard American ground beef
has about as much. Like it's about what we're trying to point. The point of this thing was not to say this is the best foods to eat. It was just say like these regular.
Making a comparison.
The regular stuff that you eat, like a peanut butter sandwich, people think no protein at all. Right? They think, people think that plants have no protein. The first question you get asked, well, where do you get your protein?
Right.
So I said it's got about as much protein. So you say then. Oh, and by the way, I'd listened to your 30-minute podcast trying to take down the film, which came out before you came on Joe's podcast. And you said that you sort of backed this up. I don't know. This happened like from one article and it got spread and spread and spread that someone said you need 5 tablespoons of peanut butter to get the same amount of protein. In what world does someone, and you changed your tune a little bit when you came on the podcast, but when I make a peanut butter sandwich, I use bread, 2 pieces of bread. How many, is that you would use 2 pieces of bread and peanut butter sandwich?
I think that's what a sandwich means.
I think by definition, right?
Yes.
It's pretty much, okay.
Sure.
So what you did on your podcast, you admit that a tablespoon of peanut butter is 4 grams, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what is 4 times 5?
20.
Right. And then per USDA, how much is 1 piece of whole wheat bread?
4 or 5, depending on the source you look at.
I agree. How many pieces of bread? 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So 5 grams of protein in bread. The one that I actually have at home is 6 grams, but let's take USDA.
Okay.
So 5 plus 5 is, Chris?
10.
Plus 20 from the peanut butter is?
30.
Well, even on the leanest beef that you chose, it was 24 grams. Why did you say you needed 5 tablespoons of peanut butter? And I know how it came about. Because I think what you do is you take other people's work like Denise Minger and all these other people, you read their articles and you take their arguments, because some of the stuff that on your site is very reflective of people's other arguments on other sites. So there was something that started where people started saying you need 5 tablespoons of peanut butter. And in the first article it said without the bread. Now I don't know why you don't include bread when you make a sandwich, because I mean most people do. It's not just peanut butter. And I almost bought a peanut butter sandwich in here today to show you what 2 tablespoons of peanut butter looks like, or 2.5. Because the one I had, I looked at it, and it's surprising, like, when you actually measure a real tablespoon, it's actually not that much peanut butter. And, like, so mine, I've figured out, has about, like, 2.5 tablespoons and 2 pieces of bread. My bread has, like, 6 grams. So my peanut butter sandwich has, like, 22 grams of protein. Anyway.
White bread would be more like 2 or 3 grams
but again, like, we showed a piece of whole wheat bread on there. We're advocating eating mostly whole foods. That's a whole grain. No one is saying, we even said in the film, you know, if we wanted to cherry pick, we just try and push plants. We said white sugar and white flour, bad for you, associated with weight gain. Like, carbohydrates from whole food sources are associated with better lean body mass, lower body fat percentage, and everything else. But anyway, so I don't understand your math. What I think you did is you took that article, because articles that spread from that article forgot to put the bit in parentheses about without the 2 pieces of bread. So you take 5 tablespoons of peanut butter at 4 grams a piece, that's 20 grams. Right, which is around what beef is.
2 pieces of bread, 10 grams.
So why did 24 grams of your hand-picked lean beef, which you don't even necessarily, there's no reason that you should be picking that when that's not what we showed in the film. Why are you comparing 24 grams to 30 grams? Why didn't you say 4 tablespoons of peanut butter? Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Got it wrong again. Okay, so this is what it's frustrating when I watch the show, because like every 5 minutes I'm hearing something that's just factually incorrect.
Well, that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. And I, again, appreciate to both of you. So can we just look at the breakdown of all these different things? So again, the peanut butter sandwich I has 22 grams, but that's maybe a little bit more than like some people.
The other argument was the quality of the protein.
We'll get to that, but quantity first. So if you go to bread on slide 5, well, I don't need to do this. You've agreed. Mm-hmm. Right, okay. So, and lentils, if you want to do slide 8. Oh, no, sorry. What you haven't agreed on is, I'm going to say 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and 2 pieces of bread. Okay? Fair enough?
Say, for what?
I'm just going to say, like, the comparison roughly. I mean, you can put a bit more peanut butter if you want.
Content.
No, yeah, I'm just going to show you. Okay, so
3 tablespoons.
So can you just
3.5 tablespoons of peanut butter and 2 pieces of bread?
No. Right? No, I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you. I'm going to back up what I said in the film. So let's just go through the slides quickly, if that's okay. So slide 5, and apologies to all the listeners who don't get to see all my slides.
So tell them to go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So this is USDA. So I don't know where you get your numbers from, but I went to the USDA site. Unfortunately, it changed in October, so it's not quite the same as when we were making the film. But anyway, 1 slice of bread, 5 grams of protein. And you accepted that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. The peanut butter, 2 tablespoons, 8 grams. You accepted that. You accept that 2 tablespoons of peanut butter has 8 grams.
Yeah.
Okay, we could have more. I have like more, but whatever.
Okay, there we go.
So you agree that 18 grams of protein for the peanut butter. That's the sandwich that we showed in the film, whole wheat bread, peanut butter. Okay, so the next slide, and again, I'm being very conservative on this, like in the amounts. So now we look at lentils, 1 cup, 17.9 grams of protein. That is USDA again. Would you accept that?
Yeah, I haven't looked at this, but
I mean, it's like yeah, I know that in the large, you can on the left side, 1 cup.
I accept USDA as absolutely.
Okay, good. Source. But you accept USDA when it comes to this, but not in terms of the recommendations.
We're talking about, if we're talking about quantity of,
cool.
nutrients.
So we're on the same page.
Well, this is something that's been clearly measured. This is not something like recommendations.
No, okay, sure. So, but we're on the same page. We're taking this as a source. Okay, so now if we go to slide 9. No, sorry. The one that you just had.
The one with the eggs, Jamie.
Yeah.
There we go.
So 3 eggs, 18 grams of protein. Would you say so far we've got about as much protein in the peanut butter sandwich with 2 tablespoons, not the 5 that you claimed?
It's less. I mean, 18 is not 24.
No, I'm not saying, I'm getting to the beef. I'm saying so far what I have presented, just the 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, and it came to 18. I was really conservative, right? I could have put more peanut butter. I could have had bread that had more, like the one, I don't want to name the brand, but it's like 6 grams. Mm-hmm. But you'd admit that you can get bread that's got 6 grams of protein.
Sure.
Okay. So I'm being really conservative just to sort of prove a point. But so far we've had a peanut butter sandwich with only 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. And seriously, you try that at home, Joe. Like actually measure it with a measuring.
Yeah, well, I talked about it in the podcast. I would probably have about 5.
Okay, so anyway, I probably would too.
3 large eggs.
3 large eggs. Okay, so
18 grams.
So now we go to organic. This is organic ground beef. Standard organic ground beef.
3 ounces.
So 3 ounces is 17.5 grams. If you want to get into it, we can get into because it's per 100 grams. So I can
What's the fat percentage?
9.2 grams.
So it's half fat?
Sorry, it's 9.2 grams per 100 grams. See, we had to do the calculation.
Oh.
But that...
okay.
But this is the regular organic ground beef. If you go
it's in the neighborhood of...
And then, to be fair, because I knew you'd bring up a grass-fed beef, so that I found the lowest and the highest.
Okay.
Okay, so go to grass-fed beef, slide 11. 3 ounces, this is on the very low end, so this would probably be the fattiest meat. But you wouldn't be against animal fat, right?
Not typically. Depends on the person and their situation.
But we're just talking about protein here anyway. Right. So lowest, 14.4. On the highest end, I actually think my number, 18 grams. Okay, so peanut butter sandwich, 18 grams. Lentils, 17.9. Can we round it up?
Yeah.
3 eggs, 18 grams. Okay.
3 ounces of beef, 18 grams at best.
Right, when I looked up grass-fed beef. Now,
so
if you go, I'm not saying if you go with 90% lean, you can have more protein, no doubt. So you can find protein that's got higher. I said about. I was trying to show that dispel the myth that plants have no protein and animal foods have all this protein. So I've just shown you there. Now, your second point was that the problem with his second point was the problem with the peanut butter sandwich, to get 18 grams of protein, I think this is a fair point, you would have to eat 410 calories, right? So if you go to slide 15... It was
15, actually the more important point, because I'm not necessarily, that may not be a problem for somebody who's training.
No. But I just want to talk... But protein... No, I know, but can we just do quantity? Can we finish quantity first? So can you bring up slide 15? So you'd admit that you can get a decent amount of protein. Your argument was you can get percentage. So slide 15, the lentils for 18 grams of protein. Again, if you want to check this calculation, stop at any time. I'm fine. I have had this triple checked. Okay, 18 grams of protein, 231 calories. Okay, because I love that people like to point out the beef and then the peanut butter sandwich and try and compare those. Even though we were right on the protein, now you're trying to pick on the calories. So you didn't pick the lentils, which have 231 calories. The next one, slide 16, has...
Which is about the same for beef.
Which is about 210 calories. Mm-hmm. Grass-fed beef in the first instance. Grass-fed beef in the first instance, slide 17, 275 calories. And that was on the one that wasn't so lean. And 70% lean beef. And I'm just pointing out there's different ranges. 417 calories for 18 grams of protein. Right? So fatty meat, which you don't think the animal fat is bad, right?
No.
Okay. So 70%. He's talking about the protein percentage. There was less in my peanut, there was more protein percentage-wise in my peanut butter sandwich than there was in the green beef. And then not the last one. Yeah, we could have picked something with less calories. So if we picked tempeh, for example, slide 19, 170 calories. So again, would you say?
But I think his argument was the argument was the quality of the protein.
No. There was two arguments.
The part of it was you would have to consume more calories.
Okay, but just before, can I just prove it at one point? Yeah. So the first part was you can't there's nowhere near as much protein, and then there was it's based on the calories, so the percentage of protein isn't good.
You would have to have more calories to get the same amount of protein.
Which is not true. You don't have to. You don't have to. Okay, so we made a mistake again.
That was not a central part of my argument.
No, but it was a part of it. It was a part of it, though.
Quality.
Yeah, it was quantity and quality, and the quantity was broken down to two things. You just can't get as much for you just can't get as much in that serving. They're totally wrong. You'd have to have 5 tablespoons of peanut butter. Totally wrong. Agree?
agree that you don't have to have 5 tablespoons.
Right, thank you. Okay, and then you also said that you'd have to have so many calories that you couldn't get it, and you were wrong again. Agree?
For the peanut butter sandwich, or just in general?
Just in general, from plant foods. We could have picked lentils.
No, yeah, I agree that you don't need to have 600 calories of lentils to get that much protein.
So can we get slide 20, sweet potato and leek omelette from Chris's site, where the protein is coming? So this is from your site, 18 grams of protein, 410 calories. The funny thing is, I typed in recipes, and I think this was either first or second came up. All I do is pick the first 2 high protein recipes from your site. Because I didn't pick the soup or the salad because I thought that'd be unfair, so I picked the first couple. So sweet potato and leek omelette, the protein coming from eggs, 18 grams of protein, 410 calories. Do you have an issue with your own meal?
No.
So do you have an issue with the peanut butter sandwich having 410 calories?
No.
Okay, second one.
I said, that wasn't central to my point.
It was a secondary argument.
To get the same quantity.
Which is not, which you just admit that it's not.
Quality, which is DS score.
We'll get to the DS score in a minute, and I will show that you were wrong again. So taro and bacon hash, slide 21. 18 grams of protein, 570 calories. If you want to go to your breakfast of champions, which I thought, for athletes, slide 22. And by the way, I took your data. I didn't take USDA. I assumed that you were not lying. So I took the totals from the bottom, but I standardized it for 18 grams of protein because we're just comparing everything percentage-wise. 688 calories. Do you think that people should not eat that meal?
Depends on who you're talking about, but no.
But it's low protein. It's low protein, right?
I don't think that people shouldn't eat it. And
is it low protein?
You can't rely on that for your. You can't rely on that for your protein.
Right. So first of all, it's low protein by most people's standards, but your standards of protein are much higher. So that would be far off. So that would mean to make up for the rest of the day, you would have to have meals that were almost just protein, or maybe they'd have to buy the protein powder from your website in order to make that up. Anyway, so let's move on to now and by the way, slide 23, largest study ever done comparing completely plant-based eaters with study showing plant eaters versus meat
75 grams a day?
That was the average.
Okay. Aren't you supposed to have 1 gram per pound of body weight?
No. That's at the upper end for athletes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's 0.8 grams. It's 0.8 grams. This is how much they were actually getting in the largest study ever done comparing plant-based eaters. So you can see it's about the same. And actually, per pound of lean body mass, fat-free mass, the vegans were getting slightly more because they had better body mass index. They were slightly leaner. But anyway, just want to say it's roughly similar. So your next argument was that athletes need more protein. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, no, it wasn't an argument because you admitted that I pointed it out in the show.
Yeah.
So if you go to slide 24. I just want to point about the amount that we're actually requiring.
Okay, we're going into the amount now.
We're in an amount for athletes because his point is maybe you can get enough to survive, but not to be an athlete. So I'm going to look at.
I don't think that was his point. I think his point was that there's a different requirement.
No.
For athletes.
Yeah, there's a different requirement. No,
we weren't to survive.
We weren't arguing on this point. Your point is you need more. His recommendations, though, what he does is he pushes them to a really high end that isn't consensus, showing that, then trying to make it out that it'd be harder to get, which we've already shown you can get enough protein for of course, an athlete eats more calories, therefore they get more protein as a percentage. So I just wanted to show 2 positions on this, and then we can see if you don't agree with the consensus of science. So this is the joint position paper of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the Dietitians of Canada, and the American College of Sports Medicine. So this is for athletes, okay? This is just one. I'm going to show you another in a second. Do you want to read it out, Joe? Because we might get bored of my voice.
Current data suggests that dietary protein intake necessary to support metabolic adaptation, repair, remodeling, and for protein turnover generally ranges from 1.2 to 2.0 grams per kilograms per day.
Okay, and then the next slide, Jamie, if you could bring up slide 25.
I agree with that and have it in my notes as well.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay. Protein supplementation beyond a total daily protein intake of 1.2 grams kilograms a day.
Wait.
Is it the wrong one?
Where are you reading that?
From the big square.
Protein supplementation. You said 1.2.
No, I said 1.6. Didn't I?
Okay. No, you said 1.2 to 2 grams. You read the thing from the last thing.
How did I do that? Did I really do that?
That's pretty genius.
That doesn't make any sense.
Okay. So
this is what was in front of me, right?
Can you read it again? Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I read 1.6. I didn't? That's what you heard? You're 1.6?
Oh, maybe. I thought you said 1.2 to 2.
Oh, well, no worries.
Anyway,
Either
whatever.
way, no
so
worries.
Can you just
protein supplementation beyond a total daily protein intake of 1.6.
The squiggle means about.
Oh, okay. About 1.6 grams, kilograms a day during RET.
That's resistance exercise training.
Provided no further benefit on gains in muscle mass or strength.
And these are like really highly. And if you look at the I'm not going to stick to 1.6.
Per kilogram. A kilogram is 2 pounds of body weight.
2.2.
2.2. So we're 1.6 grams. So it's less than 1 gram.
It's 0.727272 grams per pound. If you want.
So you're looking at about 3/4 of a gram per pound recommended. Anything over that, provided no gains.
Yeah, but I want to clarify. So you can see the two-phase breakpoint analysis on the top right, this chart.
Yes.
Okay, so you can see as the chart goes up and then it flattens out, there was no further gains in fat-free mass, which is the y-axis, after 1.6. However, there's something called a confidence interval, like how confident are they that these findings are correct? And it was a very wide confidence interval. So it actually there was 6 grams either side. So it was actually up to 2.2 and down as low as 1. So it's 1 to 2.2. The other one, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the Academy of Sportsmen, is 1.2 to 2. So the widest range is 1 to 2.2.
So you think that this like recommendation that's a standard thing that you hear in a gym, 1 gram per pound of body, it's probably just
no, that's legit. That's legit at the upper end. So 2.2 grams on the upper end. The 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day is 1 gram per pound of body weight. So no doubt, and this is you're talking about certain athletes like bodybuilders, strength athletes, and the confidence interval means to apply to everybody. Some people could actually build and this is about optimally building muscle as fast as possible.
Right.
And some people could do it at 1 gram, some people might 2.2, but like regularly it looked like 1.6, 1.8. Like the scientific consensus is that, and you said that you agree with these ranges of the scientific consensus.
And there's some evidence suggesting that higher amounts may be beneficial. So if you go to, or Jamie, if you search for examine.com, how much protein do you need? There's an article there, and examine.com is do you know about them? It's
I know who they are.
Panel of scientists, or a group of scientists.
A group of scientists, right. Not the American College of Sports Medicine or
the indicator, right? Indicator amino acid oxidation method, which is newer. If you scroll down, Jamie, to the optimal daily protein intake for athletes and similarly active adults, or if you just click on that, you see in that paragraph, IAAO studies in athletes found different numbers because 4 of the 49 studies in the meta-analysis that had that range, lower range, were conducted in people with resistance training experience. The other 45 were newbies. IAAO studies found different numbers. Female athletes required 1.4 to 1.7, male endurance 2.1 to 2.7, amateur male bodybuilders to 1.7 to 2.2.
It says the average amount of protein required
he's probably going to get some higher ones.
Maximize lean mass is about 1.6 grams per kilogram. It's the same exact
it's like we don't even need to argue it. It's like totally accepted in the sports world, like whatever.
But it also says some people need upwards of 2.2 grams per kilogram. For those interested in comprehensive breakdown, it provides another link. So
I don't think we're far
in the
off.
range.
We're not far off on this.
It says regular training male endurance athletes require 2.1 to 2.7 grams per kilogram. So that's the high range.
Yeah, and so and you did say something about 2.3 to 3.3 in one. Remember in one study you pointed out
that was just doesn't actually help you build more muscle mass, but if you're trying to lean out.
Yeah, and also I think some of the studies that you've looked at that look at like there's one at 2.3. I've actually got it on my computer. I don't have it in my slides, but there's one at 2.1 to 3.3. You've got there's 2 things about that. One, it's when you're in a caloric deficit because of gluconeogenesis. You pull some of the protein and you use some of the energy, so there's less protein left for building. So if you're a bodybuilder cutting for competition, trying to get down to like 4 or 5%, then your protein requirements go up above that normal range because you're basically you're in caloric deficit. So you're using some of it for fuel.
And that's also the case with those carnivore people and a lot of keto people as well, right?
Yeah, and they probably adapt some because like in normal people, you can actually during exercise, you can only get 10% of your energy from the oxidation of protein into glucose. But so where were we going? So, but the 2.3 to 3.1, by the way, it's 1 in caloric deficit, and it's 2 based on fat-free mass qualifications. It's not based on total body weight, which is what all the recommendations are on. So the 2.3 to 3.1 in some of these studies, if you did if someone was 15% body fat, it would bring it down.
Right.
It wouldn't be 2.3 to 3.1
It's
based on total body weight.
3.1 based on the
Fat-free body mass. So if you're 200
mass,
pounds
right,
and you've got 20% body fat,
Right.
you only weigh 160 pounds for this calculation.
Got it.
Anyway, where we are. So you like to talk about the IAO in terms of these recommendations. And if you look at slide 102, Jamie, how am I doing, by the way, defending the film?
Excellent. You're really doing really well.
Good. Not bad for a dumb old UFC fighter, right?
You're not that old.
41. Going great. I just started. Look what I did. Look what I did to the top of my head this morning. I cut it. I just started, the last couple of months, I started shaving it with the...
How much protein can the body use in a single meal for muscle building, implications for daily protein distribution? Showed upward of C1 of 2.2 grams per kilograms a day in cohort of young male bodybuilders, although the method of assessment indicator amino acid oxidation technique used in this study has not received universal acceptance for determining optimal protein requirements. So it's in that same range.
So I'm not, a couple of things. I'm not trying to point out that your IAO is off. I'm saying if you want to take your IAO, the indicator amino acid oxidation index, if you want to use that, then the upper confidence interval is still 2.2. So the scientific consensus, I just want to make it very clear that you threw out a bunch of these numbers on high protein, making out that vegans couldn't hit that level. First of all, I've shown that foods can get that. I've shown that vegans can get sufficient protein, and I've shown that the levels that the scientific consensus on the protein ranges for athletes are not in scientific consensus with these 3.3. But even if there were, there's no reason you couldn't get it on a plant-based diet too.
I didn't argue that everyone should be eating 3.3 grams.
No,
per
but you did argue. You made out that vegans couldn't
protein.
get enough protein, and you were wrong.
I didn't say they couldn't get enough. I said that it's less likely that they will get enough.
But it's not, though. If they eat some of those recipes on your website, they're getting less.